Magandang araw, Podmates, at Happy Philippine Independence Day. Si Howie Severino muli na nagpapaalala na nakakatalino ang mahabang attention span. Tuwing Hunyo, ginugunita natin ang kasaysayan, lalo na ang kaganapan noong Hunyo 1898 nang magtagumpay ang mga Pilipinong revolusyonaryo laban sa mga Kastila sa maraming bahagi ng bansa. Kadalasan si General Emilio Aguinaldo ang usapin dahil sa pagdeklara niya ng kalayaan ng Pilipinas noong June 12, 1898 sa Kawit, Cavite. Ngunit lingid sa kaalaman ng marami, matindi ang laban sa Batangas at marami pang probinsya. Ang guest natin ngayon ay isang batang historiador, si Renz Katigbak, na nagsasaliksik tungkol sa kasaysayan ng kanyang bayan ng Lipa, Batangas. May sinulat siyang libro na lalabas sa buwang ito tungkol sa tagumpay ng mga Pilipino sa Lipa. Ayon sa memoirs ng isang Kastilang doktor sa hukbo ng mga Kastila. Nag-aral pa si Renz ng Espanyol upang mabasa mga dokumento noong panahon yun. Kasama niya sa pagbuo ng libro ay si Dr. Manuel Pajarillo, tanyag na researcher at Lasal brother at dating presidente ng De La Salle Lipa. 34 anyos lang si Renz at isang empleyado sa San Francisco, California. Renz, welcome to my podcast and congratulations sa inyong bagong libro, Memoirs of a Prisoner of the Tagalogs.
Magandang umaga din po, Sir Howie.
Una, Renz, nais kong tanungin, paano binago ang iyong pananaw sa ating kasaysayan ng pagsulat ng librong ito?
For me po, it changed my perspective about the Philippine Revolution. Kasi nga, akala ko nga din it was a failure. But it actually, para sa akin, siya yung nagsimula ng pagkaroon ng nasyonalismo nating mga Filipino.
Why do you say that? Bakit siya yung nagsimula ng nasyonalismo ng Pilipinas in 1898?
Dito po kasi natin parang unang tinawag yung sarili natin ng mga Filipino kasi. Kasi noon una parang merong mga racial classification. Lalo na nung gumagawa pa ako ng family trees noon. So, nagre-research ako noon. Tapos nababasa ko doon sa mga entries na lagi merong racial classification yung mga Filipino as Indios. Tapos nung nagkaroon na ng revolution, we called ourselves as Filipinos na.
Okay, the event that is the focus of the book, no, has been called the Lipa Siege. It's rarely mentioned in history books, and pag binabanggit yan ay pahapyaw lang, no? But we know that it was more than a siege. It was also gunfights in the streets, house-to-house combat, my casualties. It was actually a bloody event, no? It was dramatic. It was a dramatic episode in our history, almost cinematic, no? How much of this did you know about before you found this book? And what did it add to our knowledge about this historical event?
Actually, yung pong Siege of Lipa, I already read it sa isang article ni Tita Praxi Villa do sa libro niya na Peaks and Valleys, The Story of Lipa. But it wasn't elaborately detailed yung significance ng mga events na yun. And nalaman ko rin po na yung mga dating pangalan ng kalye sa Lipa, one of the principal streets were called Calle 7 de Junio and then Calle 18 de Junio, which were, the dates of the first day of the siege, which was Calle 7 de Junio, and then yung 18 de Junio was the day of surrender. I was curious to know more about these events. Nakabasa ko din po yung about the siege dun sa Aid to Captive Freedom ni Teodoro M. Calao, yung autobiography niya lang. So, yun pa lang po yung mga sources ko about the Siege of Lipa until I discovered itong kay Dr. Santos Rubiano sometime in late 2018 or early 2019.
Okay, I'm going to ask you how you discovered the memoirs in a Spanish language. So you had to learn Spanish before you could read it. No? Yeah, but before I ask you about how you discovered it, no, I want to ask you more about this particular event. Kasi nga, itong mga nabanggit mo, no, na mga accounts like TM Calao and this coffee table book that was produced, Nipa. Of course, these were from the point of view of the Filipinos. What makes this different, this memoir that you translated, these are the memoirs of a Spaniard who was a doctor in the Spanish army and was among the forces that were besieged, no, in the cathedral and convento ng Lipa, si Dr. Santos Rubiano Herrera, no. I read the book even earlier than your draft, no, and my initial translation ito, and it's really a dramatic account, and he's actually a pretty good writer din, no, very lyrical. He's quite reflective, but at the same time, he describes the events and what he did as a doctor with a lot of no, surgical precision, no. So ano yung significance ng actual event na to, no? Why is it important to know more about the siege of Lipa?
Para sa akin po, yung significance niya nga kasi is ito po yung nagbigay daan sa pagpapalaya ng iba pang mga towns going further south ng Lipa. So yung and even yung other towns in southern Luzon. So yung mga weapons po uh, na surrender ng mga Espanyol dito sa Lipa were used in those other towns. Yung mga other expeditions in those towns. Philippine Revolutionary Expedition do sa mga lugar na yon.
So, itong si Dr. Santos Rubiano Herrera, you found out na kakilala niya pala mga ninuno mo, no? Tell us about that. That's an interesting personal discovery on your part, no? Na may personal connection ka pala dito ito sa taong ito, no? Na nakalkal mo yung memoirs niya doon sa archives ng Spain, tapos na meron kang natuklasan na personal connection sa kanya.
Well, actually, opo, before pa po siya napunta sa Lipa, naging interino medico titular ng Bulacan. My grandmother po kasi, Luz Tiongson, was from Malolos. So yung grandfather niya, si Don Ponciano, na Juez de Paz ng Malolos, in 1894 to 1896, naging kaibigan po pala niya si Dr. Rubiano when he was
And
assigned.
sorry, Dr. Rubiano, you mentioned his title, no? But the equivalent today would be like
Sorry, that would be a
a municipal
provincial
doctor,
health officer
a provincial health officer.
of
Okay.
Bulacan. Yes, of Bulacan. Sorry. Yung pong interino medico titular is interim provincial health officer. Yun po yung translation niya into English. So na-assign po siya sa Bulacan sometime in 1895. So naging kaibigan po niya yung aking great-great-grandfather na si Don Ponciano Tiongson. Tapos nakita ko po doon sa baptismal record nung isa po doon sa mga great-grand-uncle ko, na kapatid ng great-grandfather ko, na naging ninong niya po si Dr. Santos Rubiano. Pati yung mother ni Dr. Santos, kasama din doon sa baptismal register ni Lolo Federico.
In other words, no, mga Kastila ito, they were with the colonial authorities. He was a medical officer in the Spanish colonial government, but he had close friends, no? I mean, naging ninong pa siya ng iyong
Opo.
ninuno na native ng Bulacan, no? So itong mga Kastila na to na naging kalaban ng mga Pilipino, hindi ito basta mga dayo na biglang dumating sa Pilipinas katulad ng mga Amerikano o Hapon, no, na nakipagpatayan sa mga Pilipino, no? Si Dr. Rubiano had close personal relationships, no, with native Filipinos, and in fact, yun nga, it's an indication of their respect and regard for him that one of your ancestors was named after him, no? Yung Santos dun sa kanyang pangalan.
Federico Santos.
Pangalan ng, oo. So named after Dr. Rubiano.
Actually, kasi ayun nga po, nabanggit nyo na naging close siya sa mga natives. Kasi dito po siya nag-aral sa Pilipinas, si Dr. Santos Rubiano. Dito po niya na-obtain yung kanyang MD, yung doctor degree niya po in medicine and surgery.
So he was educated here. He spent his career as a young physician here, because we have to remember in 1898 he was still in his 20s, right? Late 20s.
Yes.
27, 28, no, nung naganap yung Lipa siege. So he was a young doctor, no?
Ang doctor. Mm-hmm.
Just a few years out of medical school, no? And he knew a lot of Filipinos already. That by itself already influences our view of the Spanish who were fighting the Filipinos. Akala natin talagang mga mortal enemies lang yan. We have to recall that the Spaniards were here already for almost 400 years when the revolution broke out. So there are all kinds of personal connections and relationships. At hindi lang naman lahat ay masasama, no? Kasi baka iniisip ng maraming Pilipino na halimbawa, lahat ng Kastila noon parang si Padre Damaso, di ba, na kontrabida, no? But there were also people like Dr. Rubiano who served the public, the Filipino public, no? Hindi lang naman ng mga
Yes.
Kastila siya nag-doktor, no? I mean, doktor siya ng madla, right?
Yes. So kaya po siya naging provincial health officer po ng Malolos, Bulacan.
The Siege of Lipa became a major revolutionary victory. What was Lipa in those days, 1898? No, it was a significant place in the Philippines.
Yes, because it was yun nga po, dating coffee producing town. It was considered the richest town in the Philippines during the late 19th century because of the coffee boom. Pero nga, short-lived lang yung coffee boom kasi by 1889, it started to collapse yung coffee industry. But still, Lipa maintained its prestige as a rich town despite the challenges of that period. After the coffee blight, they shifted naman po to abaca production and sugar. So,
Okay, so
madali na po
just
sila
show that
naka-recover. So, hindi naman madali, pero naka-recover naman sila from the losses of the coffee, blight.
So basically, culturally, Lipa was a very enterprising town, no? With, very business-minded people tulad niyan. I mean, naka-shift doon sa ibang produkto para tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung kanilang enterprises, no? From coffee to abaca and sugar. But yung isang outcome nitong yaman nila is nakapagpaaral sila, yung mga pamilya dyan
Opo. Yes.
sa Maynila, sa Europa, naging mga malalapit na kaibigan ni Jose Rizal, kasama sa mga founding fathers, nakapagtatag ng dyaryo, naging mga professionals ang mga Lipeño, no? So it was an intellectual center.
Yung mga ilustrados nga po. Yung nabanggit nyo.
Yes, Ilustrados and yung Ilustrados na kilala natin sa kasaysayan, they were also revolutionaries and they were thinkers. They were Enlightenment thinkers who were, thinking about concepts like freedom and sovereignty and individual rights and separation of church and state and women's rights and women's suffrage and all of that. These concepts that we take for granted today, noon they were considered radical ideas, no? And then they were able to learn these ideas because nakapag-aral sila dahil yumaman ng Lipa dahil sa kanyang mga produkto.
Mhm.
Obviously, Lipa was a strategic center. Hindi lang dahil mayaman sila, but it's also because of its location, no? So itong mga Kastila, they made Lipa a major detachment.
As headquarters.
Headquarters. So ano yung mga naganap? Bakit ba nagkaroon ng siege sa Lipa?
Noong 1898, ito yung headquarters ni Colonel Juan Rodriguez Navas. So siya po yung parang highest Spanish authority in the Southern Tagalog Command.
Based on what I read in the memoirs of Dr. Rubiano is naghimagsik na yung mga Pilipino, no? So and part of the context of this is the Spanish-American War. May digmaan na sa pagitan ng Spain at saka America, which was a rising power in the world at that time. This is 1898, no? So and by June nung naganap itong Lipa Siege, June 1898, nangyari na yung Battle of Manila Bay. kung saan napalubog o pinalubog yung halos buong armada ng Spanish warships sa Manila Bay ng mga Amerikano. So, kumbaga, uh, uh, medyo nagre-retreat na yung mga Kastila, no? And na lumakas ang loob ng mga Pilipino kaya nag-uwian galing sa Hong Kong and um, biglang lumaban na ulit yung mga revolusyonaryo sa maraming bahagi ng Pilipinas. Yung mga Kastila sa Lipa, as mentioned in the book, they were trying to figure out what to do, no? So itong grupo nila Dr. Rubiano, they attended a war council in Santo Tomas and they decided to go back to head towards Batangas City. Pero
Yes.
dadaan muna ng Lipa, di ba? Dadaan muna yung puwersa na ng Lipa. It was actually a large number of Spanish soldiers that were marching to Batangas City, but they stopped in Lipa to rest. No, mga ilang sundalo yon yung tumigil sa Lipa.
May mga accounts po kasi wala pong specific pero ang account po ni Comandante Francisco Vara de Rey, siya po yung second in command to Coronel Navas. About 400 soldiers yung pong nag-concentrate sa Lipa.
Yeah, and 400 soldiers, and they were mostly in the convento and the
Yes.
cathedral, no? So nakisiksik sila doon. But may mga nag-occupy din ng mga surrounding houses, di ba?
Yes. Okay. So there was a
Oo.
house-to-house combat po na nangyari. So hindi lang po sa Church Plaza na nagkaroon ng parang ayun tawag dito, hostilities but also in the houses in Lipa. So they occupied the side where the church is po. Yung mga bahay na nando sa hilera po ng simbahan.
Okay, I want to ask though, itong estimated 400 troops ng mga Kastila, no? Lahat ba ito ay Spanish people? Alam ko there were native soldiers, no, in the Spanish army. They were considered part of the militia. They were members of the militia na binigyan din ng armas para depensahan ang Spanish interests in the Philippines, no? Doon sa 400 na yan, may mga native Filipinos doon.
Possible po may mga loyalist pa rin sa Filipino militia soldiers na nandun na nakikipaglaban against the Filipino revolutionaries.
Pero ang pagkaalam natin, dahil nga, yun nga, medyo natatalo na yung Spain at saka nandiyan na yung mga Amerikano, maraming natibong sundalo, mga native soldiers sa Spanish militia ang bumaliktad, di ba?
They defected po.
Oo, they defected. Dala-dala na yung mga armas nila at sumama doon sa puwersa nila General Emilio Aguinaldo. No?
Mm-hmm.
But there's an important person who was part of the Filipino forces in Lipa, and this was General Pasiano Rizal, who was the kuya of Jose Rizal, who was dead by this time. Of course, si Jose Rizal was executed November 1896. This is June 1898. Pero medyo sariwa pa yung pagkamatay ni Jose Rizal dito, and alam ko he was an inspiration for many of the revolutionaries, and of course his kuya General Pasiano Rizal, no? Si Pasiano Rizal was not a native of Lipa, no? So paano siya napasama dito sa Siege of Lipa?
Siya po kasi yung nag-initiate nung atake sa mga Espanyol on June 7 po.
He initiated. So yung atake, it happened in the streets, right? So in other words,
Yes.
Nakapwesto na si Pasiano Rizal sa Lipa.
Yeah. Sila yung nag-impede sa mga Spanish forces marching their way to Batangas. So,
and ano naman yung papel ni General Pasiano at this time? He was a general in the Philippine Army. Hindi na to katipunan, right? Just to clarify, na natapos na yung katipunan noong 1897 dahil nga nagkaroon ng ceasefire, etc. And dapat nga may disarmament pa, di ba? And then, nung bumalik, Philippine Army na. Kasi nagdeklara na ng independence, no? Si Aguinaldo. So this is the Philippine Army.
To be exact, ang tawag po sa kanila is Filipino Liberating Army na po ito. Hindi nga revolutionary. Doon sa mga nakita kong documents po, yung sa archival documents, ang nakalagay po sa translated as Filipino Liberating Army. Ejército Libertador. Yun na po yung nakalagay sa ano nila, sa mga um, yung mga stamps, sa mga documents, sa mga seals. Hindi revolusyonaryo eh.
Yes. Okay. So si General Pasiano Rizal, the Rizals were originally from Calamba. Alam ko
Mhm.
na evict sila doon, ano, nung early 1890s, or maybe even earlier, no. But he became a general in the Katipunan, no.
Mhm.
And then pero hindi siya sumama kay Emilio Aguinaldo sa Hong Kong in exile. He stayed. He was in charge of a battalion. Ano bang papel niya noon?
So general po, so that means siya po yung commander-in-chief ng mga puwersa ng yung ano, yung liberating army na yun. Within in that region.
So essentially, the Spanish troops were on their way to Batangas City, and then kumbaga na-ambush sila ng mga puwersa ni General Pasiano Rizal sa Lipa. So
Opo.
nag-retreat itong mga simbahan ng katedral, which is still standing
Opo.
today, and
Yes.
the convento, which is still standing today. Kasi ang dami nila, 400. Isipin mo, may mga wounded pa sila, no? May mga wounded.
Opo.
At kasama dito si Dr. Santos Rubiano, who was their doctor, no?
Opo.
Yeah. And then dun sa memoirs ni Dr. Rubiano, no? So he described in very graphic detail yung hardship nila sa loob, the fear, the desperation, the bloodshed, no? Kasi yung kanilang commander, si Colonel Navas, the overall commander of the Spanish troops there, whom you mentioned, he was looking out of the window of the church tower nung tinamaan siya ng
Sa tower,
sniper
opo. Mm-mm.
ng Pilipino. Di ba? Tinamaan siya ng... So he was wounded.
Wounded po, opo.
Yeah.
Heavily
And
wounded.
Dr. Rubiano described in his memoirs how he had to amputate the arm of
Yes.
his commander, no, si Dr.
Mhm.
Navas, no.
Opo.
Wow, that's a pretty harrowing kind of war story, no. I mean, it's horrifying to imagine it, no, in the middle of a battle like that. You the life of your commander is in your hands, and you have to amputate his arm without the benefit of an operating room and nurses and may anesthesia ba sila noon? I mean, grabe yun. Basta nilagari na lang yung arm. Obviously nabuhay, no, si Colonel Navas, no, but and it was not the only amputation done by Dr. Rubiano at that time. There was a previous amputation that he did of a leg of one of
Mhm.
the wounded soldiers, no. But what do you know about how Dr. Rubiano treated his patients? There was, they turned the cathedral into like a hospital or infirmary at that time, right?
So, siguro yung may mga experiences na po siya kasi siya isa nga siyang surgeon, and then I think before they reconcentrated, they already had medical supplies. And at the same time, nanguha pa rin sila before they marched to Batangas eh. Sa mga store sa Lipa ng mga medical supplies din po, and their food as well.
Okay, so they went through all of that, and
Mhm.
eventually they realized that they were isolated, they were running out of food.
Yes.
I'm sure they were running out of water. Ang dami nilang wounded, may mga namatay. They didn't expect reinforcements soon, so they decided they had to surrender.
Yes. And it was also raining at the same time. So marami pong nagkakasakit na mga sundalo. So yun. So that also diminished the numbers of people who were battling against the
So
revolutionaries.
terrible, terrible conditions, no? So,
Opo.
okay, but during this time, so it was an 11-day siege. Anong ginagawa ng mga Pilipino naman, ng mga Tigalipa?
So yung iba po nagtago sa ano nila sa mga yung mga syempre yung mga elite, they had their farms. So doon po mostly nagtago yung mga Tagalipa. Meron lang po ako na research na isang uh, prominent na Lipeño, si Pastor Mayo, who was also in the battlefield. and Don Valerio Calao, who was on the first during the was there during the first siege, and he was wounded. He was the last mayor, kapitan municipal during the Spanish era.
during the Spanish period, no? Valerio Calao, of course, is the father of Teodoro M. Calao, who is more famous, and he was alive at that time. Si T.M. Calao, everyone knows T.M. Calao Street, no, sa may Luneta sa Manila, no, and there are other Calao streets all in other parts of the Philippines. Pero ang tatay ni T.M. Calao was a revolutionary hero, so Valerio Calao, sabi mo nga, the last mayor of Lipa during the Spanish regime, no. But at the same time, he was a frontline combatant. No, he was wounded. I remember reading a biography of T.M. Calao by T.M. Calao's daughter. No, you actually gave me that copy, and it described Valerio Calao as going home to his family in the evening, but then during the day he would leave and fight. No, he would fight. He would leave on his horse. So he was actually leading local troops. So hindi lang to mga dayo katulad ni General Pasiano Rizal and his troops who came from perhaps other parts of the province or Southern Tagalog, pero may mga locals na Tagalipa, no, na lumaban din at may mga nagbuwis ng buhay.
Yes po. And there was also itong si Gregorio Aguilera Solis, who was with Rizal in Spain. That he also wanted to join yung itong mga revolutionaries, pero parang pinigilan siya ng asawa niya eh. So it's sa po sa mga accounts na nabasa ko.
When the first time I read about this incident, itong Lipa Siege, was in the book Battle for Batangas by the historian Glenn May. Pero pahapyaw lang, no? Maiksi lang.
Opo.
Pero ang source niya doon, yung libro ni T.M. Calao, yung
Opo.
Aid to Freedom,
Aid to
no,
Camp
na
to Freedom. Aid to Camp to
memoirs
Freedom.
ni T.M. Calao. So there's more of it there, no. Pero yung mga accounts nila seem to be parang a bit romanticized. I don't know if you agree.
Opo.
Yeah. Yeah, kasi parang ang naalala ko, yung description nila it was like a bloodless revolution na naglabasan yung mga civilians para suportahan ng mga sundalo ng Pilipino, etc. And there was a happy ending, and but you didn't really read about how bloody it was, itong mga amputation, yung
Yes.
yung house to house combat, walang ganung binanggit.
Mostly puro yun nga, it's really romanticized. It wasn't given much detail.
Yeah. So tingin ko this is a significance of what you did, yung translating the Spanish language memoirs of an insider, of a participant in the siege on the other side, on the losing side of the Spanish army, no? And the memoirs are in such granular detail, down to like medical descriptions of the wounds of some of the casualties, no? It was because he's a doctor, no? So this is part of
Very
his
descriptive.
very descriptive, and it seemed some of it seemed like a medical report, no? Which is valuable for history, for researchers, no? Kasi
Kumbaga,
at the
it's very
same
meaty.
yes, ang daming substance. At the same time, he could be quite lyrical. Itong si Dr. Rubiano, he would describe, what he was imagining, his fears. He could also be emotional, di ba? May pagka-romantiko din itong si Dr. Rubiano, di ba? About the honor of soldiers and all of that, no? But which brings me to a point, no, na itong mga Filipino accounts, no, and there aren't too many. We just mentioned two, no, na yung kay T.M. Calao, and then of course yung kay Glenn May, who quotes T.M. Calao mostly, no. They're from the Filipino side, but very superficial, no. Wala bang memoirs yung mga Pilipinong participant dito to give it more balance, to add to what we know, aside from what your book is already presenting?
May nakita po ako na other sources, pero isa po yun sa mga nasunog na mga documents sa yung private library ni Teodoro M. Calao in Manila. So isa po yung sa mga nawala during the Second World War. mostly mga accounts of Lipeños on the Siege of Lipa.
I want to move on, no, and ask you about one of the more significant aspects of this historical episode, which is also described in the book, which is the chivalry and honor that Dr. Rubiano described, and which both sides seem to show, no? Kasi nagpapatayan tong dalawang panig, but at the same time, there was a kind of chivalry and honor between enemies, no? Parang there was no account of torture or mistreatment of
Yes.
prisoners. Kasi nung nag-surrender itong mga Kastila noong June 18, 1898, pinayagan sila magmarcha palabas, no, na information. Of course, kinuha yung mga bala nila, but para hindi
Pero
sila
meron pa rin
makapalabas.
sila mga weapons na dala, pero ano na siya, parang wala nang bala, tapos tinanggal na yung mga blades dun sa weapon nila.
The bayonets. Oh, in other words, they were allowed to surrender and exit the convento and church with their heads high, no, with honor, no. In other words, nirespeto sila ng winning side, yung mga Filipino revolutionaries, no, na hindi sila pinagbabatok, hindi sila yung, di ba, walang, at saka may orders na,
wala pong violence na nangyari.
may orders na tratuhin ng mabuti, no, na wag apihin itong mga Kastila, etc., no. At the same time, I noticed that there was a line in the book where Dr. Rubiano was talking about how Colonel Navas was never tempted to do really brutal tactics, no, because of what he called a medieval chivalry. Kasi halimbawa, it was mentioned there na by Dr. Rubiano na hindi ginawa nila yung mga ginawa ng Amerikano just a few years later. Di ba? Na scorched earth tactics sa Bulacan. Kasi sabi ni Dr. Rubiano, kaya nilang sunugin yung Lipa. Di ba? They could have burned all the houses around the church para hindi na makalapit halimbawa yung mga revolusyonaryo, pwede nilang patayin yung mga sibilyan, etc., no? But hindi nila ginawa out of a sense of chivalry, no? Anong thoughts mo doon? Anong take mo doon? Tama ba yung sinasabi ko?
Tama po. My thoughts there is yun nga, there's honor in their work. Meron silang military honor na sinusunod po kasi. So they respected both parties in that sense.
Yeah, I noticed that I noted that in your footnotes, which you and Dr. Pajarillo, your co-author, wrote, no, parang you had extensive annotations, no, in this book. You developed that point about the Spaniards in Lipa not employing U.S.-style ruthless tactics, and compared it to what the U.S. did in places like, Samar, where there was, the howling wilderness, where U.S. troops, in retaliation for an ambush by Filipinos, killed so many children and civilians, no? And what the U.S. did in Batangas itself, when the U.S. was trying to pacify the Filipinos, no? Parang pati mga kalabaw pinatay para hindi na makasaka, para magkaroon ng starvation, no? Ang mga Pilipino.
Pinatay nila yung agricultural wealth ng Batangas po eh. Sinira nila.
The Spaniards naman, as I mentioned earlier, hindi naman mga dayo yan eh, no? They were already here. Tulad ng sinabi mo, si Dr. Rubiano was educated as a doctor in the Philippines, served as a doctor to Filipino civilians, as opposed to the U.S., who just sent soldiers here to pacify people they did not know, no?
Mhm.
Itong mga Kastila, sila Colonel Navas, etc. I mean, they knew Filipinos well. There were Filipinos who were their friends. There were
Francis.
Filipinos who served in their army, etc. So it was probably a lot harder for them to mistreat Filipinos or to act in a barbaric way or a savage way to people whom they had known for a long time.
So, yun nga po, tulad na nasabi nyo, they really, they had connection with the Filipino people kasi. May nabasa ako doon sa isang statement ni Coronel Navas na kaya naman daw nagrebelde ang mga Filipino noon is because of they wanted to break free from the tyrannical rule of the friars. So, hindi naman lahat po talaga ng mga Kastila noon talagang masama. I mean,
Okay,
they
so
were friends with the natives as well. With,
nag-surrender itong mga Spanish troops. They came out. So hiniwalay sila ng mga Pilipino, no? Kasi naging prisoners of war na to, no? Si Dr.
Opo.
Rubiano stayed in Lipa for a while, no? At saka he talks about being treated quite well, no? Parang
Yes.
tumira pa siya sa, I mean, house arrest ito, no? Pero
House
tumira
arrest
pa
po.
siya tumira siya sa bahay ng mayaman, no?
One of the nicest houses in Lipa.
Exactly. So he was under house arrest, but he was living in kumbaga
Comfortable.
luxurious Airbnb, no? Parang
Opo,
ganon.
comfortable pa
Oo.
rin naman.
So the memoirs that you translated did not just cover the siege of Lipa, which only lasted for 11 days. It for the siege and then lasted for covered for months, even years, no, after the siege, no, kasi it covered his experiences as a prisoner of war, and then pinalaya siya after less than 2 years, di ba? He was under house arrest for something like what, 15 months?
15 months.
15 months, okay. And then it describes his journey back to Spain, but through, he walked through Batangas, through Balete. I think he crossed Taal Lake, no?
Taal Lake,
To
yes.
get Taal
To
Lake to get to the other side and then walk up to
Cavite, yes.
Silang.
Mhm.
I mean, reading all of this, Renz, no, made me quite sentimental and made me relate so much to the story because all of these places are very familiar to me and to you.
Yes.
So this story is very much alive.
Ganun po.
These places that were mentioned in the book are still named that. Banay
Yes.
Banay,
Isluban,
yeah, all these places are still known by
Rosario.
those names. Yeah, yeah, and so that also makes me sad, no? That this is not studied. All of this is barely known to Filipinos. This is not studied. I can understand if it's not studied as part of our national history, but it's not even studied in local history in Batangas or Lipa. Despite its significance, despite the heroism, despite the honor and chivalry that it showed in the ancestors of people in Batangas, etc., it should be something that they should be proud of, that should be taught, so that the youth of Lipa and Batangas have role models, di ba? Are aware of this heritage of heroism and honor.
It's inspirational po. It's inspiring. In po yung ano ko, parang in one word, I can describe it. It's an inspiring account and very interesting.
Yeah, and at the same time, you cannot say that it's romanticized. Katulad
Yes.
ng nabanggit
Ng
natin kanina
ng
doon sa
Kalaw
ibang
account.
account. At the same time, we can forgive TM Kalaw because he was not a combatant, he was not a
He was
participant,
still young that time.
he was a teenager, no, very
Major.
young. I know that he was still in school. Of course, he became a very important figure in Philippine history. But later on, at this time, he was an eyewitness. But hindi siya insider tulad ng kanyang ama, no, si Valerio. So si Dr. Obiano does not sugarcoat
Mhm.
the brutality of war kasi nagbabarilan yung dalawang puwersa, but at the same time he was saying nirespeto yung boundaries of war, no? Wala silang pinatay na civilians.
Opo.
Uh, and then, nung naging prisoners of war, ay nirespeto sila. And nung naging preso siya ng mga Pilipino sa Lipa,
Opo.
pinatira pa siya sa mansyon. No?
Opo sa mga mention.
He
Actually,
was
sir,
not,
meron akong nakita pong parang news article dito. It's a Spanish tawag dito, it's a Spanish newspaper. It's called Correo de Madrid, dated August 16, 1899. Meron po, nakalagay po dito sa article na yung mga majority of the prisoners of war in Batangas are found in the town of Lipa. And the treatment they received here is unbeatable. Tapos yung mga merong may profession, yung mga soldiers na may profession, they were able to utilize their skills. Tapos yung mga wala, they even stayed at the best houses in Lipa. So they were given mga jobs like siguro maglinis. And then they were even given pero pa po sa account ni Dr. Santos na yung ibang soldiers they stayed at the house at the farm of Doña Marcelina, and they received wages for kasi parang naging ano sila, parang naging siguro boy. Trabaho sila sa fields ni Doña Marcelina.
well, all the more reason why this episode should be studied closely, di ba, Renz? Because we know how present day people behave, right?
Yes.
Pag may nahuli kang kalaban, mabuti kung mabubuhay yung kalaban na yon.
Opo.
Kung kung buhay ay malalas, tino-torture, di ba? Pag pinipreso, hindi nirerespeto, etc. No? Ganyan ang kalakaran ngayon, no? Ganon ang ugali ng marami in this
Opo.
day and age, no? So
Parang
there's a lot that we can
naghihigante.
learn. Oh, there's a lot that we can learn. I mean, we're talking about all sides, and we're not just talking about the Philippines, di ba? We're talking about what's happening in the Middle East. We're talking about what's happening in Ukraine. We're talking about, and here in the Philippines as well. Narinig nating mga kwento ng torture, ng beheadings, ng yung execution, etc., etc., extrajudicial killing, mga ganyan, no? Parang the honor that these people showed in 1898 ay parang hindi na natin nakikita ngayon, no? So all the more reason we should study history. But anyway, I want to ask you now, anong future ng librong ito, no? This is going to be launched soon,
The launching is scheduled on June 18 po.
June 18,
The
which is
the 126th anniversary of the surrender of the Spanish forces to the Filipino revolutionaries in Lipa.
on June 18. Aside from your book launch, there will also be a commemoration in Lipa City of the event, no? So there are efforts to revive interest in this historical episode, and hopefully your book will be used as a reference material for schools, no, for the study of history, the study of civica, for anyone interested in heritage and history, But back to what you mentioned earlier, because Lipeños in those days truly appreciated and valued what happened on June 18, 1898. No? Ipinangalan nila yung main street. Yung
Opo.
Calle Real ay naging
Calle
Calle
18.
18 de Junio. Di ba?
Opo.
Na ngayon, CM Recto na. So, you name streets so that you remember certain things, di ba? Of course, we want to remember Claro M. Recto as well. But yung Calle 18 de Junio na pangalan ay
Nabura na po.
and there's no street now named after any part of that history in Lipa. Tama ba?
Wala na po. Wala po. Pati yung 7 de Junio naging MK Lina Street na po siya.
So those were the bookend dates of this event, no? Yung 7 de Junio and 18 de Junio, parehong nabura na sa mga pangalan ng kalsada at napalitan, no, ng mga mas bagong ng mga pangalan ng mga mas modernong Pilipino. So maybe part of the effort can be bringing back those names, no? Somehow. or bringing back those dates, no? Para maalala ng karaniwang Pilipino, Lipeño, Batanggenyo, yung mga events na yun. So two related questions, Renzo. How can people access the book? How can they buy it? Is it and what kind of formats are going to be available?
On June 18, it will be launched. LaSalle will be taking pre-orders of the book that
Hard
day.
copy lang, physical.
Hard copy po. And then PUP Center for Philippine Studies will have it available in their website called Sudlanan, where they will publish the book, the e-copy of the book for free.
Okay, so it's going to be online.
May parang suggestion din po for us to translate the book naman into Filipino.
Dapat.
When we did the research paper, one of the evaluators suggested that we also translate the book into Filipino.
Okay, so we will also be looking forward to that.
Opo.
So we want to thank you for doing this book and this major contribution to Philippine and Batangas studies. Congratulations to you and your co-author, Manuel Pajarillo. Mabuhay kayo and happy Independence Day, Renz Katigbak, author of and translator of Memoirs of a Prisoner of the Tagalogs by Dr. Santos Rubiano Herrera.
Maraming salamat po and hoping for your support in this book project. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Howie Severino. Check out the Howie Severino podcast. New episodes will stream every Thursday. Listen for free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and other platforms.